A mother refuses to grow up. She moves and starts a new life with a new man. Little did she know that that man was forbidden by the state to see his 2-year-old daughter due to child abuse and domestic violence. Do you think that would have made a difference? Join me to find out. Please note that the content of this recording may contain graphic material including torture and explicit language may be used. The opinions are of my own and may be offensive to some listeners. They are my opinions. Everyone has them, and if you do not agree, then ignore them like an adult and move on. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Hey Ravens, welcome to the Ravens Knock. I'm your host, Amy. I want to thank you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and also referring your friends. If you're not a premium member, you can do so for $7 a month, which is like a cup of coffee. It does help the show out as podcasting is not free. And you get ad-free content, bonus episodes that no one else gets. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started. On the morning of June 17, 1997, officers found the badly abused body of 2.5-year-old Teslin in a shallow grave near a logging road. Inside the grave, they found a piece of cloth, a strip of gray cloth, a blue braided belt, and a woman's ring with a pink stone. A lady had walked into the police department and told them that she had helped her brother bury a small child 2 days ago, but she couldn't live another day knowing that baby was out there. She told them she was buried in the Sweet Home area and gave them directions to where little Teslin lay. Her brother would be Jesse Compton, a man her mother had met when she moved from California to Oregon to be closer to her sister. Jason was born to Stella and Jason when Stella was 16 years old. Stella didn't have a fantastic childhood, and when she was 13, her dad committed suicide while she was there. From then on, she just spiraled downward. She loved to party, but now she was a mother. The couple resided with Jason's parents, and Jason went back to school. He then got a great job as a steel worker to help his little growing family. Because during this time, Stella became pregnant with Tesla when she was 18. Stella was a good mother. The only complaint that was made was that she was still immature and she still liked to go party and she would like to make Jason jealous. It wasn't long that Stella felt like she needed a new start. Things wasn't going so well with her and Jason. He thought she should settle down more, and she wanted to live more. So she left California and moved to Oregon as her sister lived there, and she took both kids with her. But it wasn't long before she started struggling, and then she met Jesse. He was a pig, I'll tell you now. He was right up her alley. He too liked to party, and he would host parties that would last for days. Stella had begun using meth when she was 14, and that was Jesse's drug of choice. During this time, she began to get impatient with her firstborn. It must have been obvious because someone called CPS on her, and she had to commit to a parenting plan and attend parenting classes. It was time for Jason to see their son, so she packed up and went back to California for a 6-week visit During that time, Jason's parents said it was like she was a totally different parent. She would constantly fuss on little Jason, smacked him in the head, whipped him hard, yelled at him, had no patience with him whatsoever. But she was wonderful with the baby. They asked her to leave little Jason with them and his dad, until she can get stuff sorted out in Oregon, and it would also relieve her some stress. And she agreed. She went back to Oregon with herself and Teslin. When she returned, she moved right in with Jesse. And let me tell you, he had a really nice, filthy apartment, complete with stench, holes in the walls for when he would get angry. He would like to throw knives and punch holes. How mature of him. What Stella didn't know is that he had just been removed from another home that he shared with his baby's mother. She kicked him out for good after CPS stated that her child could not live there as long as Jesse was there. Finally, someone thinks about the protection of their child. That seems to be a rarity in this case. The cops have been called to that location numerous times over domestic violence and now for child abuse. And his daughter was 2. Jesse had a favorite object he used quite often. It was a propane torch. He would use this to heat his meth. He would even put on a show, showing his friends how long he can tolerate pain by burning his hand. Man, he is such an adult. Witnesses stated that they observed Jesse slapping Teslin in the face, dragging her by the hair of the head, forcing her to stand in the corner for hours. By the way, she's just 2.5. He would make her take long, cold showers or baths. And it seemed like Jesse was always mad at her. They asked Stella about this, and she said, well, he does all the discipline, so just, let him do his thing. Wow. I shake my head as my blood heats up. They heard her crying in the bedroom for hours after Jesse had been in there with her alone. He would not allow anyone to go inside to help or comfort her. He would hit her with a wooden spoon, a spatula, and a belt. He threatened to kill the neighbor and his girlfriend when they mentioned they were going to call on him for the way he treated Teslin. So they never called. 2 months before Teslin's death, Jesse broke 4 vertebrae in her back. He also penetrated her vagina with an object. She's 2.5. He inflicted large, gaping burns on her back, her butt, and her vagina using an open flame. Remember his torch? He torched her bottom. He torched her vagina. He torched her back. Some of those burns became infected, and so they poured rubbing alcohol on them. Oh my God. Can you imagine the pain and burning that baby felt? He also inflicted smaller burns, consistent with cigarette burns, on her legs. For 2 weeks, he tied her up 10 to 15 times by placing her hands and her feet over her head and tying them together with ropes, cords, and strips of cloth. He kept her this way for 8 to 10 hours at a time. Within 24 hours of her death, Jesse struck her in the head multiple times, causing severe bruising to her brain. Can you imagine how hard you're going to have to hit in order to damage the brain? You've got your skull. Now, granted, it's going to be softer on a child, but damn. He either punched or stomped her in the abdomen, causing severe internal injuries. It blows my mind how you can be facing a child and inflicting pain on them like that. He also stabbed her with a fork. Yeah. Jesse found Teslin dead in her room between midnight and 2 a.m. on June 14th, 1997. He cut her loose from her restraints and tried CPR. When that didn't work, he struck her multiple times on the side of the chest. But this didn't work either. So, he decides to apply a frayed live electrical cord to her chest and splashed her with cold water. He was thinking he could shock the heart, but nothing worked. They left her in her room as they tried to decide what to do with her. No one could see her because it was obvious they had been torturing her. And of course, they would go to jail. Jesse calls his sister and they decide to bury the body. Witnesses said that when Teslin was gone, they seemed to be on top of the world. The arguments died down. They were lovey-dovey toward one another and playful. They told everyone that Teslin was staying with Jesse's aunt, and they're fixing to move out of town, and they were wanting to try to have a baby boy. Thank God they were caught before this could take place. The police show up at the apartment. They read him his rights, and they asked to enter the apartment. The apartment was described as filthy. It stunk really bad. There were numerous holes in the walls from his fists, his knives. They found drug paraphernalia, drug residue, and that propane torch. They also found a lamp with a cut cord, a pair of pliers with burn residue on it, rubbing alcohol bottles, white cloths with knots. A dumpster search found 2 trash bags from their apartment. One contained a Mother's Day card from Teslin, children's clothing, a frayed electrical cord, blue cloth, white cloth, shoestring with knots, and a rope. The shoestring and the cloth had hair in the knots. Some of the pieces of cloth were the same that they had found in the grave. The medical examiner concluded that Teslin died of shock and listed the cause of death as battered child syndrome. Of course, they denied it, but he was charged with 6 counts of aggravated murder, murder by abuse, first-degree sexual penetration, second-degree abuse of a corpse. The jury found him guilty, and he got the death penalty. Stella was convicted of aggravated murder, and she got life without parole. I am very thankful that little Jason was in California with his dad and his grandparents. Because Lord only knows what would have happened to that child as well. I don't understand how people abuse children. They're so innocent. They're so defenseless. They don't understand. They don't know. We're the adult. We're the one that should be able to control our anger. We're the one that should show patience. We're the ones to teach them what to do when you get mad. You don't punch holes in the wall. You don't throw knobs at the wall. You don't hit your spouse. You don't do those things. I rarely ever get angry. But when I do, I don't throw a fit like a kid. What makes me angry is doing these episodes. They make my blood boil. Doing kids is very hard. But you know what? I don't see many places that tell their story. And I think that their story is just as important, if not more important, than the others out there. So, as hard as it is to do, I choose to do it, hoping that I can help someone open their eyes and be able to pay attention. Stop looking at your phone. Pay attention to that kid that's screaming in the grocery store. Take that extra look at him. That child sitting in your classroom. Take a second look. Ask questions. Follow your gut. It's very, very important that somebody report what they see. And if it's nothing, it was a big inconvenience to the family. And they should understand. And we're doing it out of love for the child. But if you don't do it, and that child is getting abused, they might not make it because they have no one to advocate for them. So I'll take that inconvenience any day. And I would appreciate it if somebody took the time and noticed something that was just out of the ordinary, even if it was nothing. But at least they took the time and they wanted to check on my child to make sure that that child is safe. I would respect that. I wouldn't be aggravated or pissed off. It would be inconvenient, yeah. But I would be doing the same thing if I were in their shoes. So, that's your bonus episode. I know it's very short, but it didn't matter. Her life was very short too, and it shouldn't have been. I'm going to post the child abuse hotline up on the screen. If you do not have a screen that you can look at, I'll give you the number. It's 1-800-422-4453. That's 1-800-422-4453. You can also text that as well. Be a good idea just to put it in your phone in case you're somewhere and need it. You don't have to look it up. You've already got it. But thank you for being with us and listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends. Be a premium subscriber if you can. And until next time, my ravens, avoid rest stops and be safe.